Hi, and welcome back to Football Made Simple. A massive encounter took center stage in the Champions League as Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid prepared to host Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea. Chelsea came into this with a lower relative league position, but Atleti's recent form hasn't been great, despite leading La Liga. And in the end, the game ended 1-0 to Chelsea thanks to a brilliant goal from Giroud. The XG suggested it was a deserved win, 1.14 to 0.6. But what tactics did these two top tacticians use? Let's take a look. And if you want even more content whilst helping to support the channel, consider checking out my Patreon at patreon.com/footballmadesimple. You'll get early access to videos, exclusive videos, as well as access to the upcoming FMS video podcast. A quick reminder of the formations used by both sides, as seen on the OneFootball app. OneFootball will get you match updates, formation updates, as well as player and team stats, and so much more. And the best part is, you can get it absolutely free through the sponsored link in the description below. Let's take a look at what Chelsea looked to do in possession, as they dominated with over 60%. Chelsea, for the most part, were able to play out short. However, at times, Atleti did look to push up higher on the press, as they had a man advantage in the midfield against Chelsea's pivots. They would try to filter the ball towards Rudiger, who was at times a press target, and continue to press when the ball arrived to Mendy's feet. This did lead to a few shaky moments for Chelsea's keeper. But for the most part, Simeone emphasized his team maintaining a good defensive shape to force Chelsea to look for solutions, as a swashbuckling attack hasn't yet been a trait of Tuchel's Chelsea. Atleti would at times look to sit in a mid-block 5-4-1 with Correa and João Felix occupying the wider regions. But for the most part, Atleti opted for a very low block 6-3-1, instead not looking to concede any space in deep regions. Thomas Lemar would drop into a left-back position and Correa shifted to right-back, with João Felix tucking in to be the third midfielder. And Chelsea's wing-backs, as they have generally done under Tuchel, pushed high and wide early on to provide the width and allowed the inside forwards to occupy the half spaces. Against most teams who use back four formations, Chelsea would then have the 5 versus 4 advantage against the backline, as we touch on in our dedicated Tuchel tactics video. And this would then allow them to take advantage of the wide region if the fullback tucked in, or the half space if the fullback instead covered Hudson-Odoi. So by using a back 6, not only could Atleti use a man-to-man route to cut off both of these options, but they had a spare man to potentially pick up any runners. And Atleti's midfield 3 could stay fairly deep at times, to completely cut off any space between the lines. When we did see Mount move deeper into the half space, he was tracked on all sides to ensure that he couldn't receive the ball at all. In addition, if he did look to make the run into the half space, Atleti would easily be able to track it. And generally, since Tuchel has come in, almost all of their creativity has come from Mount, Hudson-Odoi and Alonso, so this Atleti shape ensured that they were all tightly tracked. As a result, creativity would be deferred to Jorginho and Kovacic, who, whilst excellent on the ball, are not chance creators, each averaging just 0.8 key passes per 90 in the league. So, Tuchel had to find alternate ways to solve this equation, and the wide centre-backs were key to the process. We would at times see Mount drop deeper into this wide space to receive, with Hudson-Odoi's width meaning a man wouldn't close him down as quickly, but this wasn't the primary route. With only Suarez looking to press, they would often push higher to look to receive the ball ahead of him, effectively eliminating the first line of pressure. Simeone's wider midfielders would then look to push higher to slow down the advancing wide centre-backs, and this would create more space between the lines as Atleti's midfield would move as a unit. When this happened down the left, Jorginho would often form a double pivot alongside Rudiger, thus allowing Kovacic to move between the lines. And with the Atleti backline pinned deep, Chelsea could look for Kovacic directly or through a wall pass from Giroud to then move higher, which led to some interesting situations. Down the right, this mechanism was slightly different, with Azpilicueta often pushing much higher than Rudiger, as shown in their average positions. At times, he would be a free man, and if a defender was dragged out of position to close him down, there would now be more room to make passes into the box, although the compact space meant that the pass would have to be perfect. But more commonly, it meant that Atleti would have to shift across on the cover to cut off any passing lanes. And particularly when Rudiger was also high, or if Werner dropped deeper into the midfield, Correa could be drawn out of position when covering the man. As a result, Alonso was frequently free for a moment, and a slight criticism is that instead of looking for the direct switch to Alonso whilst he was in space, Chelsea would often pass it along the ground, giving Atleti time to recover their position. From here, if Atleti won the ball though, they looked to transition quickly, and Chelsea with so many numbers high would look to counter-press. But already a man light in midfield, at times this press could be broken, and Felix, Lemar, Correa and Llorente would look to flood forward on the transition, but often they couldn't get enough numbers up at a time to make the transition count. But when Atleti did get high up, Chelsea also looked dangerous in the transition, particularly down the left. It would be one of the few times Llorente and Correa would be high, and Alonso would often make the run into the space, which Chelsea would find at times, but again, they were slow to do this often. And when found, Savic would be quick to try and close him down, forcing Alonso to cross from deeper regions, which is not ideal. But we do see elements of this in the Chelsea goal. Llorente is caught high pressing Alonso, which creates space behind him, with Correa also high. The knockdown then breaks to Kovacic, who plays in Alonso, and the difference is Mount's run means Savic cannot move out to close down Alonso. Alonso is still forced to cross from deep, but his cross eventually leads to Giroud's goal. I hope you enjoyed the analysis, and if you did, a like and maybe even a share would go a long way. The away goal sets up the return leg perfectly, as Simeone's men will have to be more open, so that promises to be an interesting encounter. But I'd love to know down in the comments below, what did you make of both teams? As always, I'd love to give a big thanks to Mohammed Habib for helping to support FMS on Patreon and helping to make this video possible. But that's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.